Hi, I'm Mal, and welcome to another episode of MiniModelMakes. In today's episode, I am going to paint something up that I promised to paint quite a long time ago and haven't got around to it for other things. And that is a humble Imperial Guardsman, or Astra Militarum Trooper, whatever they're called these days, in the classic green and cream colour scheme, which fits in with my Cadian 7th mobile infantry. So without much further ado, let's crack on and get straight into the video. See you soon. For this tutorial I'm going to use the following colours. Xandri Dust painting spray. Always remember, when you undercoat a model, do it in a well ventilated area and make sure the conditions are fine. It's not too damp, as it can affect the undercoat. The next colours I'll be using are Castellan Green, Lauren Forest, Null Oil Shade, Agrax Earth Shade, Rhinox Hide, Xandri Dust, Ushabti Bone, Tyrant Skull, Lead Belcher, Corvus Black, Ironbreaker, Kislev Flesh, Cadian Flesh Tone, Gilman Flesh and Wraith Bone. For the first step, I've got the main body of the Guardsman here. I've undercoated him in the Xandri Dust. What I also made sure to do is to base the model, so the sand is already on there and the Xandri Dust acts as an extra sort of sticky layer over the top of that to keep your basing sand on the base itself. I've left the arms off separate. What you can see is I've got a lollipop stick here, which I've got the arms already on there. They're actually the next stage, but I keep those separate as it's easier to paint the main body of the model with the arms off and to glue them on later. The first stage is to use some Agrax Earthshade, and I'm going to wash the model all over with the Agrax Earthshade. Make sure that you pay particularly close attention to all the nooks and crannies of the model. Try to keep it off the flatter areas as you can, but that's easily rectified at the next stage. What I'm going to do is make sure I do the entire model in that wash, and also make sure that you pay attention to the base as well, as that needs to be done also for the next stage. Our model is dry after that layer of Agrax, which has really brought out the detail on the model. What we're going to do next is start bringing up the fatigues back up to colour. For that I'm going to use Xandri Dust. I've just got an old makeup brush that I have stolen. Don't tell the wife. And I'm going to be dry brushing the model, so using the paper towel to get most of the paint off the brush, and then I will be running that gently over the entirety of the model. It doesn't matter if you get it on the armour or any of the belts or anything like that, because we're going to paint over them later. Just gently run that Xandri Dust back over those fatigues. As you can see, it starts to pick up the raised areas, still leaving that Agrax in those recesses. I'm going to carry on with that layer, and we'll get back to you with the next stage shortly. Our next stage is more dry brushing. This time we're using Ushabti Bone layer paint, exactly the same again with that dry brush. Some of the paint on, make sure you get the majority of it off the bristles. Got our model, and same again. Start running the dry brush gently over those fatigues, and as before, it doesn't matter if we get it on the pouches, get it on the armour, because we'll be painting over those shortly with the next stage. See, it's already starting to make those trousers stand out really nicely. Simple, quick, effective, designed for painting a lot of guardsmen very quickly. I'll carry on with this layer and we'll move back onto the next stage. Our next step is using Cadian green to paint the armour on the model. I've mixed some of that onto my palette with water, and we're looking at the areas here like the body armour, helmet. Can paint over these insignias, doesn't matter, we can always put our other colour over the top of those. I'm looking at areas such as the sort of armour plate in there on the boots, can make those stand out. And the other thing to remember is, don't forget the arms we've got on here. For this, I'm going to pick out all the weapon casings and the shoulder pads there. This lollipop stick just makes them so easy to quickly paint as well, ready to glue on later. Okay, I'm going to carry on with that and I'll see you at the next stage. For the next stage, I'm using Corvus Black, and for this I'll be painting the boots of the model. So I'm just going to get round the back, zoom in a bit more for you. Just watch the armoured areas we've painted. And I'll just work my way around these boots. And don't forget the little straps at the side of the armour. Doesn't matter too much if you get it on the base because we've not painted that yet. I'm going to carry on with that and I'll see you at the next step. The boots are done. The next step is to use Rhinox Hide. For that I'm going to pick out the belt on the model. Not too bothered if we go over the buckle because we'll be painting over that shortly. Just take your time, work your way around, and then also I'll be painting the webbing at the back. And the bayonet as well, the bayonet frog. So I'm going to carry on with that section now. Carefully work my way around, trying not to get any on the fatigues. If you do, it's not the end of the world, just go back and paint over it. So I'm going to carry on with that and I'll see you at the next step. So the belt is done. I've also painted the chin strap as well on the helmet. Next stage I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the Wraith Bone base paint. Get some of that onto my palette. This is quite an important stage. Mix some water in with it. I'm going to try and get a really fine point on my brush. Really steady hands, which is why I'm glad I've got this painting handle. I'll wait for the camera to hopefully come into focus. There we are. Just carefully go into painting the face of the model. Just take your time. If you need multiple coats, so be it. It's better to keep it really thin because it's going to help later on. So we've got the face done there. It's not showing up really well on camera. It will for the next stage. Now, don't forget forget to do the hands on the model as well, especially the one underneath the rifle there and there. I'm going to carry on with that stage and I'll see you at the next one. So the next step is to use the amazing Gilman Flesh. Make sure you keep your pot well shaken for these Citadel colour contrast paints. They really do need to be mixed well. And for this, we're going to pick out that area of the face. Just going to paint that contrast paint into there, and it's going to do all the hard work for us. Seep into the recesses and paint this straight from the pot. It's brilliant stuff. That's going to dry really nicely. Also, make sure you do the hands as well, holding the las gun, and I'll come back to you with the next stage. Next stage is to pick out all the body armoured areas with our Null Oil shade. Same again, just pop some of that shade onto your palette to enable some control over what we're going to do. And all the green areas, the flak armour, just going to get a generous coating of this. Make sure you don't leave anything pooling on the flat areas like what was going to happen there. We just work all our way around that flak armour so we start to get some good definition to those plates. Don't forget as well, we're going to do the boots and the plates on those boots, and we can also do the webbing, the water canteen, ammo pouch, bayonet frog and handle. So we're just going to work our way, or I'm going to continue working my way around these areas now. Give that a good amount of time to dry and I will get back to you. Our next step is to pick out all the metal areas. To begin with, we're going to use lead belcher for that. Same again, just make sure you've got a good amount on your palette. Now, some people sort of ask me why I don't do all the layers first before I then wash it afterwards, because I'm going to be washing this metal area when I'm done. I've just done it sort of the other way and washed it, or partially washed most of the model first, because it helps my eyes, bear in mind I'm getting on, just to pick out the detail that I'm looking for, like the belt buckle here. And then I'm also looking at the top, the pommel of the bayonet here. Try and zoom in a bit better. So the pommel of the bayonet is belt. You can do the cross guard of the bayonet as well. Now you can go as in depth as you want with this. I'm going to pick out sort of the top of the water canteen, and you can just about see some of the power pack in the webbing there. So as I said, in depth as you want. The big thing as well, you could pick out the back of the helmet or whatever you want to do with that. Make sure you've got your weapons as well. So for here I can sort of see what I'm doing. I'm going to be doing this sort of selector switch, power pack in the rifle. You can pick out the bayonet lug, which is where the bayonet attaches at the base of the las gun there. I said the ammo. The butt of the las gun. You've got a little bit of barrel behind the suppressor there to work on. You can do the underneath, you can do this part on the top, this bit at the back. World's your oyster really, it's as in depth as you want to go. You could equally have done all those in green. I'm going to carry on with those. It's not too bad a step, it's quite quick, and then I'll get back to you with the next stage. So the metal's been done. What we're going to do is I'm going to start picking out these raised areas on the armour plating again. Once more, going back to our Castellan green that we were using before. Such an amazing colour. Classic guard green, or Astra Militarum now green. Really trying to get a nice picture for you on camera. We don't go into the recesses too much, but just looking at these raised areas of the flak armour there, you can do these raised sections on the helmet. It's just going to help with the highlighting a little bit. Same with the little area on his back, straps, sort of edging of the armour you can look at doing. Back of the helmet, top of the helmet. It's just to bring that green colour back up, that rich colour back up. Don't forget the little areas on his boots as well. Just keep it to the centre, because you've watered down this green, it'll dry nicely and provide a subtle sort of contrast between the washed armour and our attempts to highlight it. This is just an added, but you can actually get away without doing this stage if you want to keep your models really simple and just give it a sharp highlight to contrast. Just picking up all those areas on the model. Same with the shoulder pad and the rifle, and that's the next step done. Back to our Null Oil shade. Let's get some of that on your palette to help control it. Going back to the metal areas, such as the bits on the weapon. And just touching up those metal areas once more. So be careful with these. Want to try and sort of have an outline between the metal and the green. That's what makes the model pop, that's what makes it all the different colours stand out. It's more on the actual rifle itself than there is on the model. If we go back to him, looking at his belt, the bayonet, and just these little studs. Just makes them pop a little bit more, and that's the secret to starting to go from a rough. I've just kind of painted these because I need them painted to, yeah, it's still quick and easy, but it's got that little bit of contrast to it, and you know, makes people start to go, ooh, that's a nice army. Alright, I'm just going to touch up this eagle while I'm here, getting ready for the next stage with those, and I'll be back to you with the next stage shortly. Next paint I'm going to use is Ironbreaker. I'm using a smaller brush this time. I've gone for an Army Painter Insane Detail brush, and I'm going to look at, I'll zoom in a bit more if I can and try and, let's get it in focus, and we're just looking at touching up the edges of the belt buckle. Just need to catch sort of the edges of the belt buckle, and then looking at things like the top of the water canteen, the top and the hilt of the bayonet. Picking out again the little studs on the ammo pouches. Same again with the las rifle as well. What we're going to do is we pick out the edges of the power pack, the barrel, the raised areas of the stock here. Sorry, really struggling with my camera today and getting it nicely focused, but we're just picking out the raised metal areas again. Just to give it a tiny bit more pop. You can see that there. For our next stage, we're going to pick out some more of the detail. I'm going to use Celstra Grey this time. Apologies now, I don't think I put this paint on at the start of the video. So on your palette, plenty of water down to give you lots of control over that paint. And for this we are looking at the Aquila on his helmet, or the winged skull. It's not really an Aquila. We're looking at the badge on the chest, and then if you look on the back as well, we've got this water bottle. And then we've got the same on the las gun as well. We've got the wing skull there. So I'm going to carry on working those and see you at the next stage. For the next step, we go back to the ever dependable Null Oil. Small brush again, and those winged skulls and Aquilas. I'll get the las gun here. Winged skulls and Aquilas. We're just going to work the Null Oil into the gaps and around the edges. Put too much on, as you can see there, just take some off your brush and you can wick it away to the point where it's more manageable. Make sure you get that Null Oil around the edges of it as well, so you see some nice definition in it there for when it dries. Same again with the helmet, work it into and around the edges of the badge to make it stand out and pop. I said the stage we've done with this guy, just picking it out, it's a, you know, a very basic tabletop standard, but just adding this little bit of Null Oil now pushes that model just a little bit further, makes it pop a bit more. And if you go to these events, you know, people notice your army when it's out on the table. You'll get more comments, you'll get more positivity around it, which is great. I'm going to carry on picking out all these little badges. I'll do the one in his water bottle as well, and I'll get back to you with the next stage. Next stage is Ulthman Grey, and I've put some on my palette, watered it down so I've got some great control over it, and it's going to be the same again, just picking out detail, really trying to keep it out the recesses. Sort of catch at least the top of the badge and the raised part of the wings if you can. Sorry, my camera's really struggling to zoom in. Just be patient, take your time, pick out at least the raised areas of the wings. What I'll do, I'm going to just pop that model away. I'm going to try and get his las gun more into focus. So just picking out the edges of the skull and at least the top part of the wings. It's going to make that badge pop. At the point we've got it quite nicely done there. I'm going to carry on with those and I'll get back to you with the next stage. Next stage is we're going to work on the armour again now. I've got some Lauren Forest. Same again on my palette, water it down. And we're looking at all these lovely raised areas of the armour. So on the side of his helmet there, you can do the other side, you can pop a little line here at the base of his armour. Same with the chest. Think about where the light is going to hit it and just pop some little highlights in there on it. Back of the model, he's got this raised little plate here. We've got his more bits on his helmet. It's just working around these edges. You don't have to go mad, just pick out little tiny areas that really start to make the model pop, and it just takes it that step further really. Don't be afraid to work over an area again if you think it needs a bit more definition. Same with the las gun. The las guns are really good because they've got these hard edges, so you can pop your paint onto these areas and really las guns have great sort of edges on them, so you can really catch the edges with the edge of your brush, make those areas pop and stand out a bit more. What I'll say as well is to make sure you catch the flat area, the shoulder pad at the base, and that'll help give it a bit more definition there. Okay, so we're going to do the next step on the face now. I'm using Gilman Flesh, and I've mixed it onto my palette with a little bit of water to show control. Picking out raised areas such as the nose, top of the eyes, cheekbones. I do actually have a video on how to paint faces in sort of 5 minutes-ish, really easy steps. I will try and link it into this video at the end so you can see that. It's a lot bit of video for painting faces and goes a bit more in depth. Because this is a line trooper, I'm just going to pick out a little bit of detail just to make his face stand out. I'm not going to go mad, I'm not going to do the eyes or anything like that, because, you know, there's upwards of 20, 30, 40, 50 guardsmen in an army, depending on what you're doing. So for a tabletop and line troopers, just a little bit of picking out details enough. So I'm going to carry on with him, and I'll get back to you with the next bit. Going a bit further with the webbing, what I have now, I've got some Mournfang Brown, and it's just a simple case of picking out the edges of the bayonet frog, the straps on the water bottle, and the edges of the ammo pouch. Because I've watered this down, it won't dry as bright as it currently looks. It'll be a lot more similar to the leather that's already there. And I'm going to just catch the edges of his webbing belt as well, just to tidy it up a bit. I'll get back to you with the next stage after that. Okay, so the model's pretty much done. We're just going to work on the base now. So for this, I've got some Tyrant Skull. This is how I base my Imperial Guard. Dry brush, and we're just going to run the dry brush really lightly over the top of the base, catching all that raised area. Sorry, not the easiest process to highlight. I'm going to carry on with that, and I'll get back to you with the next step. So our model's now finished. I've added some grass tufts to the base. I've also just put the transfers on the model, the Cadian gate and the squad number, which are currently drying, so I'm being very careful with it. What I'll do is I'll wait for this model to dry, I'll put it onto the turntable, and we'll show you the completed model. And we come to the end of this video that I promised ages ago on how to paint an Imperial Guardsman or an Astra Militarum trooper in the simple plain green and cream fatigue colour scheme. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please like, subscribe and share. I'm just a guy doing his hobby in his man cave. It means so much to me when someone leaves me a comment or subscribes. It's amazing. I've got 338 subscribers now, and I'm over the moon. The dream is to get over 1k. That would be out of this world, and I'm a third of the way there. So thank you so much. Even if you don't subscribe, just give us a thumbs up, a like, anything. It really does help with these videos. It's, as I said, it's a simple paint scheme. What I want people to get from these videos, I'm not going to teach you how to win a golden demon. I can't. I will never win one myself. But I'm trying to get people out there to actually go, do you know what? My grey lump of plastic, I'm going to get it painted, and I'm going to collect an army and actually have it as a good tabletop standard. That is the whole point behind these videos. I'm not here to teach you to win awards. I'm just here to make you think, actually, I could do a unit of those guardsmen in an afternoon, which you can. You know, I've done that guardsman in an afternoon, combined with the video process, which takes even longer. You can knock off a squad in next to no time, the same time I've taken for that. Please stay safe out there. We're coming to the end of this pandemic, but I want everyone to be fine. It'd be great if I could see you across a table as an opponent at some point in the future. That would be absolutely amazing. And I'm currently doing another project at the minute, which is an army restoration project for High Elves. Please keep an eye out for that if you're interested in Warhammer Fantasy Battle or the good old days. What else do I have at the minute? I'm trying to think now. The Other thing is I will try to connect up with it. I've got a little video I did on how to quickly paint faces using contrast. That'd really go well with this Guardsman video. I'll try and link that at the end. I am still bumbling along on YouTube. I've probably reached the peak of my technical abilities, putting a little bit of music on at the start and at the end, and my little graphics that I can put on. But that is it, everybody. As I said, take care. I'll get this Guardsman model up on the turntable and do a quick little video so you can have a look at that. Bye for now.